I was approached by Simon Logan, who suggested that maybe we should put in a grassroots grant to fund 4 weather stations.
Some growers have talked about the lack of sort of more localised weather information. A lot of the weather information came from either Walgett or Burren Junction or further afield, and then once you got west of Walgett there was very limited information. We selected a couple of sites in conjunction with John Welsh in regards where there was existing information and where there were some gaps that he felt could be filled. We selected 4 growers out who expressed interest in being involved in the project. Part of their contribution is to pay the ongoing costs of the telemetry to keep our weather stations running. So we put 2 west of Walgett, one 100 kilometres west at Moorawan, the other one at Dave Fleming is about 50 kilometres west, and then 2 more to fill in some gaps east of town.
It's giving us near real-time data, for day-to-day use as far as particularly spraying, but also, irrigation scheduling and all sorts of things really. It's on the web, so we can look it up on the computer here at home, or if you're out in the paddock you can get it on your smartphone.
The 4 weather stations from the Lower Namoi Grassroots Grant were plumbed into the AusForecast network, which also has 25 or 30 other stations in the Namoi region. A user can log on to that site and just see what's going on right through the valley.
I think the drought's probably created a huge interest in weather. I don't think there's too many growers now that wouldn't have half a dozen weather sites on their laptop or their phone.
It's a great thing to have these stations out and about, and probably not every farm needs one, but it's good to have them, and particularly some of the ones out west of Walgett, because there's a bit of a black hole out there as far as data goes.
There's still some gaps in it, and I think in the future it'd be nice to see probably another 4 go in.
Even for us in the east around Narrabri, our weather ultimately comes from the west, so if we can start painting a better picture of how the weather works out there, it's ultimately an advantage for all of us.
We never really had a good idea of the spatial variation. I think in the last 3 years we've sort of seen that the storm events, it's huge variation within a short distance as to where the rainfall has actually fallen.
The weather is one of the greatest variables we have in farming, and the more information we have to monitor that variable, the better for our business.
At the end of the day, it's not a huge cost. I mean, we're sort of talking $2,800 for a weather station, and it's a fairly critical part of your whole business operation, knowing what rainfall it is, what the temperature's like, when the frosts occur, things like that. So I think, once we get back to a runner season, I think we'll see the adoption of a lot more weather stations across the district.
The really good part about this whole thing was that it really got a lot of guys engaged out there that, it has been a tough time out there for those Walgett guys, and they really embraced this project with gusto.
It certainly did, I feel, reinvigorate the local CGA to a certain extent, got people a bit interested in talking about stuff, and as Jeff says, it's a good excuse to get everyone together and take a project forward that's going to have some long-term benefits, I believe.
And this is just a great way of putting a little practical project around some really useful information, building some knowledge and building good relationships with researchers and growers to ultimately make them more profitable and successful in the future.